Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are going to start at the top of the hour. Welcome. We're really so excited to have you with us. And while we are waiting for the official start, I would so love for you to share in the chat, where are you joining us from today? I am Loy Parks and I am joining you from Jamaica, which today is rather sunny after we had a bit of rain. But we would so love to know who our participants are and where are you joining us from today. So I see good morning in the chat from Vanessa. Good morning to you. All right, I see Rowena is joining us from Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, Rowena. Vincenzo, welcome. And we'll introduce Vincenzo a little more in more detail later. Joining us from the UN office in New York, UN DESA office in New York. Lovely to have you, Vincenzo. So we are going to be starting in under 2 minutes officially. I want to thank you so very much for logging in early. And a special welcome to all. I'm looking at the names and I'm seeing many new names. So welcome to our network. But also I am seeing some names, some familiar names. I want to especially welcome Permanent Secretary Soyinka Grogan from Guyana, one of our alumni. I see other alumni as well, Mr. Rowan Richards from Mocha in Jamaica. Welcome. I think I see Larry Franklin joining us, I believe, from Anguilla. I see folks from Statistical Institute of Jamaica. I see Loy Walters, President of the Human Resource Management Association of Jamaica. Welcome. Sophia Carter, I believe Sophia, one of our alumni from Barbados. So as we wait, I continue to ask, we'd love to see in the chat, where are you joining us from today? Lisette is joining us from Anguilla. Welcome. So good to have you. Abina from Cayman Islands. Fantastic. Abdella from Morocco. Welcome, 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 welcome to you, Abdella. So good to have you join us. This is indeed a global affair. I see Marcia Potter is joining us from the Virgin Islands, Ministry of Education. Welcome to you, Marcia. So it is 9 o'clock and we are going to start officially. We're going to start the recording right now. Good morning, everyone. And depending on where you're joining us from, it might be good afternoon. Welcome to this, our second webinar in our webinar series on innovation, digital government, and changing mindsets for public sector transformation. I am Dr. Lloyd Parks. I am the Leadership Development and Institutional Strengthening Specialist with the Caribbean Center for Development Administration, CARICAD. And we are absolutely delighted to be delivering this webinar series in partnership with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. And so today's webinar, we are going to be focused on two presentations where we will examine the state of digital transformation in CARICAD member states. And so, as I said, I am Dr. Lloyd Parks. I will be your facilitator for the webinar today. And so the objectives of the webinar today, there are three. One, we want to present the findings from our very own CARICAD e-government survey. We also want to present the main findings from the United Nations e-government survey with a special emphasis on the Caribbean and what are the main takeaways that were unearthed from the survey. And we will follow up after the presentations with a conversation, discussion, question and answer from you to engage your participants on the status of e-government services in the Caribbean. So the agenda, we're having the welcome, and we are going to have the first presentation from Amit, who I'll introduce shortly, and then the second presentation from Vincenzo from UN DESA, who I will also introduce in a more fulsome way later on, which will be followed by our discussion and question and answer segment. And then we will wrap up with key insights and our evaluation poll. So first up, I would like to introduce to you our colleague and partner. He is Amit Atumshande. He is a Chief Technology Officer with the Caribbean Coroner Office. And we partnered here at CARICAD with the Caribbean Coroner Office in helping us to really delve into our survey to analyze what are the findings. And so he's going to share the findings from our regional e-government survey. Amit is somebody who has extensive experience. He has worked as a government consultant in focusing on e-services. He has a very, very diverse background in telecommunications, education, government, construction, hospitality. As the executive director of CARICAD say, he holds everything up. And so it is my delight to invite him now to share about our regional findings from our regional e-government survey. Amit, over to you.
Sure. Good. Thank you very much, Luis, for that introduction. Good morning, colleagues, attendees. Pleasant morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. As Luis mentioned, my name is Amit Atumchandani. I work with a firm by the name of Caribbean Coroner Office. We focus on private and public sector entities in terms of helping them with digital transformation as well as e-government. As Luis mentioned, what I will be doing over the next couple of minutes is presenting a high-level overview of the findings of CARICAD's e-government survey, which they conducted in the first half of 2023. So just bear with me while I share my screen. And Luis, you can probably let me know if it's visible. Is everyone seeing it?
Yes, I'm seeing it.
Okay, perfect. Just 1 second. This Zoom bar is actually blocking me slightly. Just bear with me. Here we go. Right. Okay. So just a quick agenda from the perspective of this presentation. We will do a quick overview, run through the methodology, discuss some limitations that always exist in any survey, We'll discuss the themes that our company picked up on. We'll touch very quickly on an e-government maturity model, which CCO uses quite frequently. We'll run through key findings from the survey. The survey was quite large, so we're picking out some select themes and questions from each section. We'll go through some recommendations and conclusions that we presented to CARICAD. Probably spend a couple of seconds on the team and us. And yeah, we'll pretty much wrap it up. So I will aim to keep it tight. Devon, Louise, please, if I stray too much in terms of time, just pull me back. Right, so a little background information. Latter half of 2023, as I mentioned, CARICAD initiated an online survey aimed at evaluating the e-government capabilities within public sector entities throughout CARICOM member countries. The survey was delivered online via the Survey Monkey platform and consisted of 55 questions across several different areas. Questions were developed based on CARICAD's assessment of the requirements for digital government operation in the public sector, and also influenced by global e-government trends. CCO, which is our company, we were tasked with the objective of analyzing the survey results to specifically identify themes and trends, as well as obviously insights regarding the adoption of and effectiveness of e-government services and initiatives across public sector entities within CARICOM member countries. Again, high level overview of the survey. It involved 58 participants from 12 countries. Unfortunately, for various reasons, we weren't able to obtain responses from the Bahamas, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Turks and Caicos Islands, as well as Anguilla. However, the respondents that we did get from 12 out of a total of 17 countries represented a fairly diverse range of ministries and departments and agencies, which included, but were not limited to, entities related to digital transformation, planning. We had respondents from various offices of their respective prime ministers, ministries covering ICT, as well as others. So despite the lack of presence from some countries, we were still able to get decent response rate given the size of the sample. Right, a little discussion on the methodology, because as always in any survey, the methodology is fairly important. Our results were based on CCO identifying common themes using quantitative and qualitative analysis, which we used in combination with the UN's e-government survey findings. The last UN e-government survey, as I recall, was in 2022. CARICAD's first survey was in the first half of 2023. Methodology behind the survey was fairly straightforward. The sample size and population was determined by representatives from CARICAD and consisted of CARICOM member states. The questionnaire design was designed by CARICAD and consisted of 55 questions. Obviously, due to time boundaries, we won't be reviewing all 55 questions. Data collection, as I mentioned previously, was done by a CARICAD Survey Monkey account. Data processing, we exported responses from Survey Monkey, imported same into Excel for data cleaning and analysis by CCO. CCO then initially categorized responses into 6 distinct themes, and we subsequently pinpointed trends and patterns and conducted analysis to find correlations between these themes and various economic and social factors. We then submitted a detailed report to our contacts at CARICAD, inclusive of findings and recommendations. And some of those findings and recommendations we will obviously share over the next couple of minutes with members on this meeting. As with any survey, limitations are inherent. We had some issues with data quality and inconsistencies. Some respondents answered the questions slightly different, while others did not answer all questions. As mentioned earlier, out of 17 countries, 12 responded. So there was, it's kind of a bit tricky to make general and broad conclusions or infer from a smaller sample size. That being said, the results that we did get were very telling and informing. In our view, the questionnaire design could have been, some of the questions there could have been designed slightly differently, which would have allowed for more richer quantitative and qualitative data analysis. I'd like to point out at this point that the survey responses were not independently verified. So as I mentioned earlier, with the data that came out from this survey, one of our main objectives at CCO were to identify themes that we could then drill down into. So the 6 themes that we picked up on were: 1, the provision and delivery of online services; 2, no big surprise, very hot topic, data protection and privacy in the region. The 3rd theme was respondents' perception of availability and standards of information on the web; interoperability; 5, strategy and implementation; and finally 6, digital literacy and education. Those are the 6 key themes that we extracted when we downloaded the data and started doing our analysis. So before we dive into the key findings, which we'll do one question from each of the 6 themes, I just want to take a step back and look at a key model that we used, the results of which you'll see in the next slide. So there's a well-known model that's been used quite extensively academically and also in practice. This is the Lane and Lee's 4 stages model. This framework helps persons to understand e-government maturity and is based on 2 dimensions. One is technological and organizational complexity and integration. Technical and organizational complexity and integration. The model focuses on 4 stages of development, and in the next slide you'll see how we mapped countries to that model. But basically the first stage is a catalog stage, which to us, in our opinion, is the foundation of any e-government initiative. That is, governments establish an online presence by creating websites and providing limited information to citizens. So those are the basics, where you can find services, how you can apply for services. The second stage in the model, governments, the transaction stage, governments enable electronic transactions between citizens and government entities. The third stage is vertical integration, i.e., where governments integrate services vertically, primarily through government-to-government interactions, thereby reducing redundancy and enhancing consistency and cost efficiency. The fourth stage, obviously, where ideally we would aspire to get to across the Caribbean. I myself am Barbadian and from Barbados. Is horizontal integration, and by that we mean governments achieve seamless integration across different systems akin to enterprise resource planning in the business world. And in a nutshell, enterprise resource planning from a business point of view is every function in a business, you have a single central information system that covers all of the functions across a business. So horizontal integration from a government perspective looks at it saying across all ministries, across all functions, departments, and agencies, fully integrated, thereby resulting in comprehensive and complex e-government integration, which obviously benefits citizens, investors, businesses, and other stakeholders. These stages illustrate the progression from basic online presence, which I mentioned before, to sophisticated integration strategies. This is basically the model at work. So now we're going to dive into the key findings of the survey, starting with theme 1, which is provision and delivery of online services. I hope everyone can see my screen. But basically, on one axis, we have from simple to complex. On the horizontal axis, we have sparse, integration, and complete. And in the top right-hand corner, we obviously have stage 4. Bottom left-hand corner, we have stage 1. So based upon what we saw, in terms of respondents and from the various countries, based upon our analysis, we saw at stage 1, which covers basic online presence, catalog listing, downloading of forms. We had one country that was there, which is Dominica. Transactional, which is stage 2, services and forms are online, working database integrations, which support online transactions. We have a number of countries there that, Antigua and Barbuda, a couple of other ones there, which were at stage 2. Vertical integration, which is stage 3, which we have, local systems linked to higher level systems within similar functions. We have Trinidad and Tobago, we have Jamaica, we have St. Lucia, we have Grenada as well. Unfortunately, so far, what we've seen, which kind of also reflects what we saw in the last publication of the UN e-government survey 2022, we haven't seen coming out of the CARICAD survey, based upon the data collected, we have not seen as yet true horizontal integration in any of the member countries that responded to the survey. Keep in mind that this survey was done in the first half of 2023, and obviously many regional governments are pushing ahead with various initiatives. So naturally, when we next hopefully run the survey, we should see some improvement with countries moving up the various stages. So again, we're going through the key findings. This is the key finding that we picked up from theme 1, the first theme. Theme 2 dealt with, as I mentioned, data protection and privacy. Again, what we're doing here with the number of questions, our company, for the purposes of this presentation, we cherry-picked a couple of questions that looked very relevant. So for example, one of the questions that CARICAD asked respondents was, is there a personal data protection law? This obviously refers to a law that defines who in the public sector can access data on citizens collected through public records or services, and what can be done with that data. We found that, and note, this is a law that defines who in the public sector specifically. Basically, the responses were split evenly. Belize, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Antigua and Barbuda both indicated, yes, that they do have a law that defines who in the public sector can access data. On the other side of the fence, BVI, Guyana, Suriname, Dominica, Montserrat, and Grenada responded no to that particular question posed by CARICAD. Theme 3 looked at respondents' perception of availability and standards of information on the web. This is a two-part theme. So availability refers to, do governments have basic information about the various services that are available to citizens and businesses, etc., online? Standards refer to style guides. So for example, if we take a government, for example, in any country, is there a uniform style guide so that all of the government websites look very similar, have the same look and feel from a usability and a user experience perspective? In this case, we focused on availability of information. So was there a central portal with information about services? Thankfully, majority of respondents indicated for their respective countries that yes, there is actually a central website or portal with information about services. Only Belize, Dominica, and Antigua indicated no to this question. Yes was British Virgin Islands, Guyana, Suriname, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Montserrat, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Grenada. So again, a very good positive thing there. For the response that indicated no, that could be for a variety of reasons. It may be having some projects that are currently in progress, or in some cases, the respondents themselves may not have been entirely sure. Theme 4 is interoperability. Interoperability, in our view, is a very key thing towards getting to horizontal integration. When you have ministries and departments and agencies that are all talking on a common data exchange layer, that enables and supports and drives interoperability. So the question that CARICAD posed was, interoperability platforms allow electronic data exchange between public entities in a standardized and supervised way. Is there an interoperability platform in your country? 3 countries indicated no, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Grenada. The majority, almost 60%, indicated that while it doesn't currently exist, a plan has been presented to government. And that's apparently happening in BVI, Belize, Suriname, Dominica, Jamaica, TNT, and Antigua and Barbuda. 2 countries indicated that there was some form of interoperability platform in their respective countries, those 2 being St. Lucia and Montserrat. Theme 5 deals with strategy and implementation, Again, we're cherry picking questions for the purpose of this presentation to keep it short and simple. We looked at this question in particular. In your opinion, what are the main challenges that your country faces in advancing the simplification and digitization of public services? Now, it's important to note that this was an open-ended question. And from there, CCO, our company, had to do some further analysis and identify certain themes. And what we did here is we picked up on those themes and segmented them using the people, process, and technology framework. So based upon, again, the open-ended responses, we saw a lot of concerns around, under the people category, educational and digital literacy, collaboration and information sharing, leadership and governments, resistance to change, no big surprise in huge digital projects across public sector entities, public engagement, digital skills, public awareness. Again, these are all challenges which we've grouped according to people, process, and technology. Funding is a big problem. Again, regional governments in some cases may not have sufficient budget, hence why partnerships with multilateral agencies are key for funding to drive digital initiatives. Inadequate resources, education and digital literacy, bureaucracy, we see cropping up a lot, not only in terms of practice, but in terms of the academic literature on government, legal and regulatory frameworks. So again, in business, it's easier to drive technology projects and digitization. From a public sector point of view, you may have all its technology, but if the legal and regulatory frameworks also need to be there to enable digital transformation. So those cannot be ignored, obviously. Under technology, we were seeing some challenges which relate to inadequate resources, legal and regulatory, interoperability and data integration. Again, that has come up again. Insufficient data, network infrastructure, costs, in some cases, connectivity vis-a-vis internet access. Theme 6 is digital literacy and education. Remember, again, we're cherry picking certain questions from the detailed report. Does the government offer programs to help citizens use online public services? A couple of countries actually indicated no, surprisingly. BVI, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Antigua. Half came back and said yes, that there are programs. Belize, St. Lucia, Dominica, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Grenada. One country, at least the respondents from one country, again, remember this is not holistic or representative. It depends on the respondents from that particular agency who responded on behalf of that particular country. We're not sure and do not know if government offered programs to help citizens use online public services. So, recommendations and conclusions. Big thing we would like to emphasize here that we were discussing with CARICAD also in our dry run of the meeting. We want to emphasize that innovation can happen anywhere. It is not limited to our North American or European neighbors. We in the region can also punch above our weight and on the world stage. From what we saw from the results of the survey, we were particularly impressed with what St. Lucia and Grenada are doing in terms of e-government, and it clearly shows that size and wealth are not obstacles. St. Lucia and Grenada, again, based on the data that we collected via CARICAD, could potentially offer valuable lessons for other states who are looking to roll out various e-government initiatives. Foster collaboration. That's very important. We should establish platforms for sharing best practices and resources amongst member states. You know, think of it this way: under CARICOM or CARICAD, within reason, and obviously subject to privacy and confidentiality, countries should be sharing their lessons learned in terms of e-government initiatives, no matter how small or large or complex. We will all benefit. The old saying, rising tide lifts all boats. Clear ownership is important for national e-government initiatives. There must be project champions or project owners that can drive e-government initiatives because they're so, they're so impactful and touch on so many different areas. Interministerial collaboration, promote communication and coordination between different ministries. Again, think of stage 4 of the maturity model, where you have horizontal integration, which means that you have various ministries, departments, and agencies sharing information with each other. That calls fundamentally for interministerial collaboration. You can throw all the technology you want at a public sector or a private sector project. If you don't have people communicating, you're increasing the likelihood for project failure. Training, very important in terms of digital literacy and e-government adoption. Change management and communication is key. I touched on communication earlier. E-government potentially can be very scary and threatening to ministries and departments and agencies. My personal experience working with one of the CARICOM member states governments is that the threat of job loss or job displacement, which are all valid concerns because you're fundamentally dealing with people and their feelings and their emotions. So good change management needs to be in place, right? Common goals are also very important. E-government initiatives should ideally, and in some cases it won't always be ideal, but generally speaking, these e-government initiatives would deliver more value if they're tied or linked into national development objectives, right? So similarly, in a private sector point of view, IT should be aligned with a business's strategy. From a public sector point of view, you want e-government initiatives that align to national development objectives and strategies. Ensure long-term sustainability. When you launch new e-government initiatives, you must have resources to keep on maintaining it and sustaining it, right? Because there are various costs associated with obviously like infrastructure, the human element of cost in terms of managing these systems. One recommendation we also suggested was that we do this survey again, and we refine the survey questions and pretty much do it biannually for further accurate data and analysis. Just some basic background on my brother and I, the founders of the company. Both of us have quite a bit of experience in private and public sector work, especially in terms of e-government. Again, a little filler here on who we are. Our website is CaribbeanCornerOffice.com. And pretty much that's it. We're available to work with public sector and private sector entities in terms of e-government projects, either new or ongoing. And thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Louise, I think I'll stop talking here.
No, thank you so much, Amit. I mean, it was always fantastic, not only to hear from you, but to continue the ongoing collaboration with you. And so there are some questions in the chat that relate to more specific information about the survey and some of the survey questions that were asked. We will be providing a copy of the survey to all of our registrants after the webinar, so you can look out for that. So Amit, I'm going to invite you. You can stop sharing. Great. And let me now introduce to you our second speaker. Our second presenter is none other than Vincenzo Aquaro, who is the Chief of the Digital Government Branch, the Division of Public Institutions and Digital Government at UN DESA. He is no stranger to us. We have had the opportunity to collaborate with him in the past. In 2019, he was listed on the apolitical list of the world's top 100 most influential people in digital government. So we are in good hands, and he's going to be sharing with us findings from the United Nations e-government survey with a specific emphasis on what was unearthed about the Caribbean. So it is my delight to welcome Vincenzo and allow him to take it away.
Thank you very much, Lois. It's always a great privilege to be with all of you and to participate to this very interesting and rich workshop. And also thanks you so much for your very generous introduction about myself. Let me share the screen so I can, I think is this one. Can you, okay.
It's
Can you
coming.
see?
Yes, we can see now.
Okay, and is it in presentation mode or not yet?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, okay, I think it's now.
It is.
Okay, good, good. Thank you so much. Also, I'm very keen to get the report and the survey that was just presented. Very interesting. I have my presentation that is based on the 2022 results of the United Nations e-government survey. At the same time, we are really now working hard to finalize the new edition 2024. We have already collected all the data and we are now writing on the report, but still there is an embargo about the data, so I cannot share the data that we collected. But let me quickly go through our report, and also I would like to highlight some differences between the two approaches and the methodology based on what I have captured by the previous presentation. In any case, this is the 2022 is the 12th edition of the e-government survey. Is one of the main products of the UN DESA. It's always on the top 3 since maybe 2000. Yeah, I think 2004, 2005 in terms of a download document, and it's assessed 193 UN member states, so all member states of UN. this is something that, you know, it's maybe unique. Now World Bank also is working on something that is complementary, that is about the GovTech, and they have introduced a GovTech maturity model. But as they said, they use our data and they complement to our assessment. So still, our report is one of it's the only one that still assess in terms of digital government. Let me also clarify one point, because often there is some misunderstanding on this. We call e-government survey more for a brand reason. We started in 2001, and at the time, you know, that was the way to call. Now we are more on digital government and even digital transformation. That is more about digital governance and with many stakeholders. But the way we assess now is more in the direction of digital government, more under the definition of OECD. So in our report, the e-government and digital government has the same meaning. So this to clarify, sometimes they ask why you still assess e-government and not digital government. We assess digital government. It depends on level of maturity of the country, if in which stage they are. Although also we have we moved a little bit further than the stages model. We used to have this 4 stages model, very similar, a little bit different, but almost the same concept of the one that was presented. But we are moving on a more dynamic model instead of just classify in defined 4 models. So let me just give a quick introduction of our core methodology, and I also will give you tell you which are the differences with the previous one. First of all, our methodology is in principle is very simple. We do believe that the 3 key pillars still are the online presence and or the online service delivery. Still very important, the telecommunication infrastructure. So all it's important really that you have internet connection, you have the broadband facilities and all the other infrastructure that you need in order to really move on digital. And then of course we do believe how important is the human capital and as we said, is not only about technology, but is more holistic approach where the component of human being is really strategic in terms of organization, in terms of institutions so far. So these are the three main pillars we never changed, although we changed and we fine-tuning the methodology based on the new feature and the new trends and the evolution of this in this area. So we have our own indicator index, sorry, that is the e-government development index, GDI. That is 1/3 of OSI plus 1/3 of TII, 1/3 of human capital index. And then we also went through a more granular definition of our GDI. So we look only at the score and for each countries, but also we look at we organize in 4 main groups. That is low AGDI, middle AGDI, high AGDI, very high AGDI. But also we look more at the rating For each subgroup of the AGDI, we have 4 different ratings that are organized based on the quartiles. So for each of those groups, we look at the quartiles. One important thing to say is that we assess independently all the countries. What we do is that we have a group of researchers. Normally, we're talking about not less than 300 researchers that independently they assess the national portals and then the different websites that are linked with the governments for each country. And we do this independently. At the same time, also we have our member state questionnaire that is somehow similar on the survey that was presented before. So we address the questions to member states, and we look for their results. So far, we have about 100 and I think 51 or 52 response. So it's a very high number compared to 193. But still, for example, while I was listening the previous speaker, I asked my team to tell me which countries didn't reply to our member state questionnaire in the CARICAD area. So I have in front of me that we never received the MSQ from Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, Haiti, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Santa Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Maybe it's also our fault that we were not really able to reach the right people or to ask for your kind support as a colleague of the UN. But it's very important also to collect directly input from the member states, because the member state questionnaire is part of the methodology we use for quality check. And at the same time, also it complements our analysis in the report. Sorry, let me stay on the methodology. So based on the methodology for the online service index, this methodology is now framed on these 5 different components. We look at the institutional framework. How the government institutionalize the digital transformation, which are the which are the processes that are put in place and so on. We look of the technical aspect and functions. We look on the content provision, service provision, and then citizen engagement and participation. These are the 5 main categories that we group in our assessment. And you can see on the right side of the column the weights for that. If you see, in 2022, we gave much more importance to the service provision and the citizen engagement. So that part covered almost 80% of the weights, although it's still really a relevant institutional framework and the other 2. Let me quickly share some global trends. Based on the 2022 at global level, we have an improvement. So this is very in line of the previous results, where there is a movement forward very high and high AGDI worldwide. From the color of the maps, of this map, you can see which are the countries most advanced compared to the other. if we look at the low GDI level, we have only 7 countries. Most of them, all of them, are in LDCs area and LLDCs and SIDS, and 6 are from Africa, and only 1 is from Americas, that is Haiti. Another, maybe this is more interesting. This is a scenario for 2022. We do believe, I can say that we know that for the new survey, this trends will a little bit change. But if you can notice, for 2022, we didn't have the what we really wanted to see in terms of progress of digital transformation. The trend and improvement was a little bit less than our expectations. This for all the regions, and even the Oceania went a little bit down in terms of compared to the others. This is because no matter the crisis due to COVID and all the emergencies, for many countries, what they did, they were really managing the emergencies and not really working on a more holistic and important, yeah, in a more holistic approach. And they only the countries that were already more advanced, they were able to quickly move forward and take advantage of this situation. So the key message here is that still, based on 2022, worldwide, there is a big issue in terms of digital divide. Again, this map will give you the strong sense of what I'm talking about, where most of the African region is still under and below the average of the world average of AGDI that we use as a proxy to measure the digital divide. And then there is also a part of the Latin American area that is still under that part, and a little bit of Asia. So the pandemic highlighted the urgency of digital inclusion and exposed the vulnerability of SIDS economies as disruptions from natural disaster and the pandemic intensified the need for resilient and accessible digital solution. So addressing these challenges is crucial for the sustainable development and resiliences of SIDS in an increasingly digital world. So this brings me to the point of the leaving no one behind, because technology is increasingly blurring the lines between the physical and digital sphere, and is rapidly changing the way people live, work, and communicate. And there is no longer a clear division and distinction between government and digital government. And as highlighted by the United Nations report on our common agenda, digitalization is the global public good that should benefit everyone and everywhere. And the 2030 agenda also should remain the government blueprint for building and healthier and more resilience, inclusive ecosystem for leaving no one behind. So really, the digital inclusion is one of the key challenges, not only for SIDS worldwide, but still SIDS are the ones that are suffering the most, and this affect also the CARICAD countries. So what we have here is that there is a new phase of inequality that is digital. So digital divide is now the new phase of inequality, as the Secretary General said, among and within the countries, and governments, private sector, and civil society all together need to act to advance the betterment of human lives. So digital transformation should work always as an equalizer for inclusion, and the whole of society approach need to be adopted, integrating multi-level, multi-sectorial, multidisciplinary strategy. I'm running fast because I want to give you more information also based on, but the time is running. So in terms of the future of digital government, what we need to do is that really we need to reimagine the ways in which government collaborate, interact with their constituencies. So in doing so, increasingly more governments deploy cutting-edge technology to deliver public services. And this technology allow the private sector and the governments to build up also anticipatory capabilities and actively shape the future development scenario. Anticipatory government helps in responding to problems, and they emerge rather than finding themselves promptly reacting to crisis. So the e-government survey indicated a growing number of countries have been lately highly impacted by the emergence of artificial intelligence as a new powerful tool that promises a new world of increasing connectivity, enhanced human-machine collaboration, and more efficient and intelligent data-driven. I have a couple of slides on AI, but I think maybe I can just quickly look at which are so AI holds great potentiality in contributing to the achievement of sustainable development goals by offering innovative solutions. And the use for the common goods has become a transformative force in the global scale. At benefit of AI should be made available to everyone, regardless of their socioeconomic status, geographical location. So what is important is AI should be a good for everyone and not only for the most advanced countries on that. And then there are some important issues related to the safety of AI, the big challenges that AI introduced and have been introduced that need to be analyzed. The few minutes, let me go more on the results, because that will solicit maybe the conversation. These are the top leading countries in the world. Is the group of the leading with the rating class that is very high. Most of the countries are from Europe, and then we have 4 from Asia, 2 from Asia, that is New Zealand and Australia, and then only 1 from America, that was US. Let me quickly go to Americas, that I think is more interesting because also include the CARICAD, and then we can zoom on the countries from the CARICAD. We only analyze the one that are member state of UN. So some countries we are not assessing, but these are the top leading countries in Americas. If you can see, North America, we have, of course, US and Canada, but then there is a interesting improvement of the on digital transformation for a group of countries: Uruguay, Chile, Argentina, Brazil. We have Costa Rica, Peru, Mexico. Then we have Grenada, Bahamas, and Colombia. So these are the top leading in the Americas. And if we look at the AGDI for the countries that we assessed under the CARICAD, we have we have Bahamas, Grenada, Barbados, that are on a high AGDI level. All of this is in the group of high AGDI level. But Bahamas and Grenada are very close to move on the very high GDI based on 2022 analysis. Then we have Barbados, St. Kitts, Antigua, St. Vincent, Suriname, Dominica, St. Lucia, Guyana, and Belize. And this is maybe more interesting in terms of breakdown for an online service index. So the blue bar, the vertical blue black bar is the world average of the GDI, And you can see here which are the countries that we have only Bahamas and Grenada that are very that are on the average or beyond the average, and the others are not they do not reach the average for the online service index. So this is, of course, we in the report are invited to download the report or use our portal. We have all the breakdown, all the way to do business intelligence and to do specifically to look which are the challenges for each of those countries. You can easily look at the 5 components that I mentioned before. And the last one is, the last slide is about the participation. There is more that need to be done in terms of citizen engagement for all of these countries, because as you see, it's below the average. So these are maybe the most important one to share with you, and to end, that will end my presentation. This is the last about telecommunication infrastructure. And the human capital. I think the critical part is more on the service provision. So I would end here. All the data are available on our portal, and of course, downloading the report. The report also is in Spanish. So I think it's more important now maybe to open the floor and to be ready for an interactive discussion with all the participants. Thank you so much. Sorry if I took more of my of the planned time. Let me now stop sharing.
Okay.
So the floor is yours, Lois.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Vincenzo. And so before we get right into the discussion and Q&A section, we have a short poll that we would like to hear from you. And we want to hear, what is the greatest challenge in your organization to advance digital public service delivery? And you'll see a poll come up momentarily, and we just asked you to select one. What do you think is your greatest challenge in your organizational context to advance digital public service delivery? So there is a poll. So we invite you, have a think, and just select which one you believe is your greatest challenge. All right, so we're just giving a few more seconds for persons to respond to the poll. Very interesting results we're seeing emerging so far. Just a few more seconds. All right, and we're going to just end the poll there. And we are sharing the results. Hopefully you should be able to see it. So we're seeing where 21% of you said that the greatest challenge, as you see, from your perspective, is inadequate digital literacy and competencies, followed by 70% who said working in silos. We have 12% saying the biggest challenge is a lack of leadership commitment, 11% saying lack of digital mindsets, and 10% indicated outdated legal frameworks. All right, very, very interesting. So we're going to now get into our discussion segment, and we're going to take the first question that I saw in the chat. And this one is from Sonia, and Sonia is asking, what would be an ideal example of horizontal integration for a Caribbean country? So remember, Amit, you had mentioned, the various range where different Caribbean countries fell. And I think we didn't have any that truly had that horizontal integration. So, she's curious, what would the ideal horizontal integration look like for a Caribbean country?
Right. So that's a great question. So when we speak of horizontal integration, so picture this: you as a citizen or a business person, any of those kind of stakeholders, you need to apply for a service, any type of government service. Horizontal integration speaks to, rather than going to multiple ministries or departments or agencies, you have that integration between agencies that you pretty much, any services that a citizen may apply for, a business person may apply for, they're already integrated, the agencies that provide them, because maybe, let's say for argument's sake, you're putting up a building, a house or something, and you have to get a permit from Department A in Ministry A and Department B in Ministry B, so on and so forth. When we speak of horizontal integration as a goal or as an objective, well, a goal specifically, from a stakeholder perspective, that citizen or business person or visitor doesn't need to visit all those multiple MDAs, because those MDAs, ministries, departments, or agencies, have all of their systems integrated. That also ties into one of the other themes that came out of the survey, i.e. interoperability. So that's what we mean by horizontal integration. Various departments, various ministries, departments, and agencies are all, pardon me, talking to each other. So if there's a service that touches on multiple MDAs, they're all integrated. Those MDAs themselves are also sharing information with each other. So it's not only about vertical integration, but across various ministries, departments, and agencies. A similar analog is in business, where you have an enterprise resource planning system. So you have all those functions in business, all those separate verticals, for example, HR, payroll, purchasing, procurement, manufacturing, they're all integrated horizontally using a common system. So think of it that way, but from a government perspective. I hope that answers the question.
Let me ask a follow-up, because somebody also asked if you could elaborate, what's the distinction between horizontal integration versus vertical integration?
So that's a good question. So vertical integration pretty much looks at, let's say for argument's sake, a particular ministry which has a number of departments and agencies that operate under that ministry, but the various systems in that particular ministry are not integrated, right? So vertical integration, you have this, let's say for argument's sake, Ministry of Education or Ministry of Health. Each of them have various departments and agencies, but they're not sharing and communicating information, or they're not integrated within their own vertical, or their own vertical function, so to speak.
Okay, great. Vincenzo, I see your hand. You can weigh in here.
Yes, just for our methodology, as I said, we move from the stages one, and our approach is more, first of all, let me clarify, it's more a matter of definition. So what I heard about horizontal integration is for us, for example, we look more vertical and horizontal altogether, but it's very similar on what Amit said about their definition of horizontal. Maybe one important example is now that the most, let's say, mature models look more on the what we call a life cycle, or so we really do not we look of services that are citizen oriented, of course, that are driven by citizen oriented. So it's not important which organization, which institution, which agencies or ministers are providing the services. And most of the time, when you look at the life cycle for some specific activities, there are different bodies that are part of the process. So from this point of view, a more holistic approach is when you just the citizen have only one entry point. So normally is one portal that provide you the list of the key functions that and services, and then it's completely from the citizen perspective. They don't care if this is a business of Minister of Labor, Minister of Education, or other institutions. What is important is that I can proceed. I can do everything online, and the government is not going to ask me same questions or same data or information in different stages. So this is, and there are a lot of cases on that. Of course, which are the challenges? Amit already mentioned interoperability, not working the silos, the data asset that need to be somehow shared, but also the quality of the data and the standardization. Because sometimes even if they want to share the data, they are not able to do that because they are using different standards, a different model, or even different infrastructure. So these are also big challenges for that. So sorry, I stop here. Otherwise,
Right. No worries. So there were some specific questions about the CARICAD e-government survey. And so Esther was asking if there was a specific question about keeping the portal up to date, and the answer to that is no. However, there was a follow-up question on whether the website had information on all the services of the national government. There's also another question from Lloyd Walters about digital literacy and education as mandatory training programs for all its employees. And there was a question on digital literacy for all citizens. Now, Vincenzo, there isn't a question directed to you, but I think, I mean, you could also weigh in as well. And the question is, do you believe that artificial intelligence will, decrease the digital divide or increase the digital divide? What are your thoughts?
So I think that's a great question. I hate to say it, but it depends on the context. Where is AI being used and how it's being used? Unfortunately, it's not a in my view, it's not a black and white, straightforward thing. There are areas where naturally AI will help to bridge the digital divide. You can look at instances in lesser developed countries, for example, where access to teaching and education, for whatever reason, may not be widespread, thus creating different kinds of divides. But AI can come in there and help bridge that gap. On the flip side, AI also has the potential to disrupt a large number of jobs across various industries and sectors. So to say definitively, at least in my personal view, will it broaden or close or help close the divide? I would say it depends very much on the context and situation.
Yes, very good questions, and I also agree on what Amit said. I can complement a little bit also based on the other question because somehow are related. And I'm talking about the digital skills and competencies, literacy, and so on. But first, about yeah, this is a big challenges. Personally, I do believe that, well, it's not what I believe, because we need to work all together to make possible AI as a leveling for everyone, and not to increase the digital divide or to create this. So this should be our main task for the next future. We need to work more on the foresight instead of just observing what is going on. So we really need to put the countries and all the stakeholders in a position to take as much as possible in terms of opportunity from AI, and trying to minimize the challenges and the risk. One side of this is digital literacy and more the creation of new skills and competencies that the government need to have in order to use the cutting-edge technologies. And especially when we talk about AI, now everyone is not only talking, but also already using generative AI and many other solutions. And private sector is very advanced on that. It's really important to work all together, because this is something that we cannot leave only to the private sector. So it's fundamental that that government step in and take some concrete action on this at different level. But indeed, there is a more need for strengthening private and public partnerships and collaboration, working more with all the stakeholders. And the second part that is going back on what we presented, still what still is not very clear for many officers in the governments is that one of the key elements, the strategic asset, in order to implement and to use in the right way the AI, is their data assets. So data management and data government management, and create a data government framework that really give the opportunity for first for good quality in terms of data, collecting the data, but also collecting should be reliable and good in terms of quality, interoperability, and what we discussed before, and we mentioned with Amit. The data asset is one of the key fundamental element even to move forward using the opportunities that AI is introducing also in digital government. Back to you, Lois.
Okay, thank you so much. And so we want to invite persons. We still have a few more minutes. We could take maybe one or two more questions. And I see a question here from Chevelyn Kernon. She is from the government of Montserrat. Welcome, Chevelyn. And the question is, what are some of the mechanisms that we can use to attempt to change the mindset for public sector transformation? Because we recognize that if we're going to get to that level of horizontal integration, etc., that we've been talking about, then, we have to change the mindset. So what, in your opinion, Vincent and Amit, are some of the mechanisms that can be used to change the mindset?
Sorry, on this, I would like to ask my colleague and great friend Adriana, that she is really leading in a fantastic way all the activities on changing the mindset to answer on that. She is really the number one on that, and she is the main author of the chapter in the government survey on 2020 on that. So really, you need. I would ask her to answer on this.
Sure. Adriana, I know she's with us. Are you able to unmute, Adriana?
Yeah. Can you
Yes.
hear? Yes, I'm here. Yes, thank you very much for that question, which we also touched upon in our first webinar, but I think it's a very relevant question. So first of all, what are some of the tools? I think that it is important to adopt a holistic approach that looks at institutional level, at the organizational and the individual. So why are we saying that? Because changing mindsets is a personal journey, right? Nobody can really force anyone to change their mindset, but there are various modalities and tools that can be adopted to change the environment, the incentives to raise awareness. So of course, the human resources department need to play a much more strategic role, much more central. And also there should be policies and regulations that put an emphasis on the need for new mindsets and also capacities that look at embracing digital technologies, looking at both the opportunities, but also understanding the risks. So this is a very important type of capability that needs to be developed. Of course, at the organizational level, if you want to promote a digital mindset, some of the mechanisms that have been adopted in many countries is, for example, setting up awards, innovation awards that focus, for example, on digital transformation, so that you create a critical mass of change makers or champions of change, also creating networks within the various organizations, ministries, across ministries, and also having from an institutional point of view, it can be helpful to have a unit at the central level that is working to promote digital mindsets by using also behavioral science, by changing a bit the way that people make decisions. And then at the individual level, it is important to conduct trainings, first of all, to have a new mindset framework that corresponds also to new competencies. And having that in place, then, of course, raising awareness, trainings, communicating, because what we have noticed working with many governments around the world is that really the first step is to uncover and, what are those limiting beliefs? And there are many. We just heard that, people have feelings. They feel that if you introduce technologies, this might cost them their livelihood. So it's very important to kind of raise awareness of what it means from an institutional perspective and from a, of course, personal perspective, and do capacity development trainings and ask these participants to question their beliefs. So that is because many times they're not aware of their beliefs and attitudes. And we have noticed that this has tremendous impact, and we've been working with countries around the world, and we think that these types of workshops on changing mindsets have been very successful, in the words of the participants, of course. And I hope that covers the response. Thank you, Loy, in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Adriana. Amit, I wondered if you wanted to weigh in, just from your own perspective as working as a consultant in the region. What have been some of the things you think have worked?
Yeah, so we touched on, so again, great question from the audience member. We can, from an e-government context, we can focus on hardware and software and networking, but ultimately, if people aren't on board, you know, it's not going to happen, right? So, you know, we touched on some of those things in our recommendations, and the two panel members also kind of touched on them as well. Change management and communication is fundamentally key. Vincenzo mentioned earlier, you know, embracing a customer-centric approach. Other mechanisms could include, you know, from a structural point of view, breaking down silos and promoting cross-ministerial collaboration, which I had touched on earlier. The use of data, personally speaking, I'm very passionate about data and data analytics, but that could also be used as a mechanism to help inform from a policy and decision making point of view, commitment to openness and transparency and accountability. Training is key. That was coming out also in our findings from the CARICAD survey. Another mechanism would be, you know, active engagement between various stakeholders, again, from the context of e-government or digital government initiatives. Strong leadership, touched on that as well. From the context of these initiatives, these digital initiatives, you have to have project champions and strong leaders who are willing to drive these projects through, but at the same time, you don't want to kind of steamroll these digital initiatives through. You have to factor in the softer side of things. So, yeah, so those are a couple of mechanisms. Some of them are similar to what Vincenzo and mentioned. Some of them, you know, we had touched on during the presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Ahmed. Vincenzo, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, just give some. We covered this aspect of leadership, and I would want to give you a couple of concrete examples based on our observation with member states. When the government was really able to make some institutional arrangement in order to facilitate this transformative process, and then, of course, the change of mindset, that really brought a lot of good results. And one concrete example, for example, is Kazakhstan, that by law, appointed as a level of deputy minister, a chief information officer for each of the key sectors, driving sectors of the economy in the country. So and all these deputy ministers, they report to a board chaired by the prime minister per se. So what I'm saying is that is also important a strong commitment at the highest level of the government to start this digital transformation process. Sometimes it's you force the institutions, and you have, you know, not only a technical person, but also a political person that is dealing with that will force the other officers to start doing these transformative processes, and of course to be to be more open for changing the mindset and to attend this you know, training and so on. But it's not only Kazakhstan. There are many other countries, Saudi, UAE, and even other that really quickly put digital transformation as a core of the governance transformation for development, and then they move with all the initiatives linked with that. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks to you both, Vincenzo, Ahmed, also Adriana, who weighed in, and just the entire CARICAD and UN DESA team. This has been an extremely informative webinar. And I want to conclude by just reiterating some recommendations that came out, may not have Amit's presentation, but definitely echoed in Vincenzo's. And it is about the way forward, and that there's a need for fostering collaboration, for establishing very clear ownership, and strengthening, and we talk about collaboration also at the interministerial level. We need to address capacity building needs, to emphasize that change management is important. It has to be aligned to our common goals, and we have to ensure long-term sustainability by planning for and allocating the relevant resources. So I really want to thank you all. Just to reiterate that the report from the CARICAD e-government survey will be made available. The presentations today will be made available to registrants. And a special welcome to those who are joining and watching on YouTube. And so the recording of today's webinar, as well as last week's webinar, will be available via our YouTube channel, that is Caribbean Center for Development Administration YouTube channel. And so with that, I want to invite the participants, if you could share with us in the chat, what insight are you learning from today's webinar? Is there any action you think you need to follow up on based on the learning today? What might you still be curious about? And so we invite you just to share quickly in the chat. And in the chat as well, we will be placing the survey poll for today's webinar, where we invite you to give us feedback on how you found the webinar, how useful it has been, and also what can we improve next time. And speaking of next time, the third webinar in our webinar series is going to be on Wednesday, March 20. So not next week, but Wednesday, March 20. And in webinar 3, we will be addressing the topic of innovation in public service delivery, conditions for successful innovation in digital transformation in the age of AI, artificial intelligence. So you don't want to miss out on that. So you'll see the link in the chat to our survey poll. You see that surveymonkey.com link. So I invite you to click on it and to please do give us your feedback here at CARICAD and also UN DESA. We really value the feedback. We want to hear from you. We want to know how we can continue to improve and continue to add value to you, our network, and our stakeholders. So just giving a moment for any additional comments that anybody might have. And if there are no other comments or questions, it's for us to say thanks again to Amit and Vincenzo for taking the time out to share their very in-depth presentations. And we look forward to having you in our next presentation, our next webinar on March 20. Thank you so much. I see Chevelyn saying here, talking about the importance of leadership. That's the insight she's getting. Another person saying limited financial resources does not have to hinder progress. Indeed. We can reimagine how government collaborates with its constituents. Thank you all so very much. And with that, we bid you good day, and we thank you for your engagement and participation. All the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations.